Could God create a rock so heavy that even he couldn't lift it? "22 years ago, I was in the hospice wing of a hospital. The most important person in the world to me, my grandfather, was lying in one of those beds. And the hospital chaplain came to give him last rites, and afterwards, I walked him back down the hallway to the elevator. When the elevator doors opened up, there were two teenage guys standing there, long hair, pierced everything, real chips on their shoulder, right? One of them looked up and saw a priest standing there, and he shouts out, 'Hey, can God make a rock so heavy that even he can't lift it?' This was the first time that I'd ever heard that, but right away I picked up on the paradox, and immediately I knew the answer, because just a few short years earlier, that was me. I was the long-haired punk with the chip on my shoulder, the high school dropout, the kind of guy who would go marching through the hospice section of a hospital, mocking the existence of God, to people experiencing the worst suffering of their lives. And God was literally the only thing they had to cling to. I knew the answer to the question, but at that moment, I really couldn't answer. But now, 22 years later, I'm going to answer. You see, all of the heartbreak and turmoil of my teenage years, I was a 17-year-old high school dropout who was pretty angry at the world. I had no options except working at the grocery store down the street, and I was pretty bitter about that. I was absolutely annoyed with all of the people who tried to make small talk with me about college football and Vidalia onions. I didn't want to talk to you about Vidalia onions. I was struggling inside. And then one day, I will never forget this moment. There's my life before this moment and my life after this moment. It was some crazy religious nut. I didn't see her at first. I just heard this soft, tiny little voice. God loves you, and he has a plan for your life. That was the last thing I wanted to hear, so I turned to tell her off, right? But as soon as I turned and looked in her eyes, something happened. I just knew that what she was saying, it was true. I just knew somehow. And that really, really unnerved me. I didn't know what to say. All I could do was just look away from her. God did create a rock so heavy that even he couldn't lift it. It was my heart. It was heavy with pain, and it was heavy with hurt. He couldn't lift it because I was afraid to let him. I was afraid I'd get hurt again. It was safer just to hold on to all this hurt. Relationships hurt. That's why I didn't want to talk to those old people about those onions. They didn't care about those onions. They were trying to create a friendship. I just refused because I didn't want to have a relationship with anyone, not them and certainly not God, because I didn't want to get hurt again. So now I'm the religious nut, and I'm telling you that God loves you and he has a plan for your life. And it starts with letting go of this heavy rock. Because if God can't lift this, then what makes you think that you can?